So you want to save some money, you want to change your motorcycle tire, take it off the rim, put a new one on, and balance it all in your very own shopper garage, you've definitely come to the right place. Stick around, we're going to show you how. Brian's going to put weights on here and have you so out of balance that you're going to go down at a high rate of speed, bro. Brian, are you maliciously putting weights on his wheel? Eat some of that grease, dude, eat it. It's just used KY jelly, don't worry about it. All right, and so this particular tire changer, it's a manual tire changer. We don't have an affiliation right now with them. I'll try to put a link in the description below, but there's different brands, but this one is, you'll see here in a second, hooks up to the hitch of a vehicle. This is the Nomar, and I'll get in here. It's the Nomar tire changer, and we're gonna get it put up on the hitch here and show you how this thing works. So he's just gonna pull the hitch out of his truck here. All right, and this bad boy, this setup just has a regular stinger basically. Goes in the receiver there. There you go, and that's how it sits on your truck or vehicle, whatever you're using. All right, and we'll call these, for lack of a better term, just the wheel clamps basically that will lock the wheel in, but you can see this one, he marked back clamp, or is marked back clamp. The reason is he's gonna put that one, he'll show you here, because this one you really can't get to the nut because of that bar to adjust, so that one will kind of hold the wheel, and then he's got the other one he's putting in there. And last, and the other two will be able to, once we put the wheel in there, you can see we can access those adjuster nuts, and that one will stay there. You really can't access it. So these two will be the ones we tighten to clamp the wheel in. Okay, so here's one more option with the Nomar kit, and this may be for maybe a sports bike or a different kind of wheel. You'll have to test it, but your wheel actually goes up underneath here in this lip, and you'll see on these kind, which we're going to use today, same thing, same concept, but this one is a little bit deeper depending on what kind of wheel you're doing, but you can play with that. All right, so for right now, we don't need to, of course, this has a whole clamping system. This is the wheel we took off. We're gonna get the tire off this wheel, so you don't need to clamp it in at this point. What Brian's got in his hand there is just a little nylon deal, and you can get these, you know, at Nomar, I'm sure, or wherever, but it's nice because it won't mar your wheels. You can take the old weights off. If you were gonna put a new tire back on this wheel, we're actually gonna change the wheel out, but we just wanted to show you that that's how you can get the old wheel weights off without scarring your wheel up. It's just kind of a synthetic little wedge there. Okay, so what Rick has here is just a valve stem remover, pretty standard little tool, and we'll get the air out of this. Just be careful when you get that loose, it will come shooting out of there if you're not careful, so make sure you're blocking it with your hands a little bit. And there we go, we'll deflate that tire. Okay, the next thing you're gonna need is just some tire lube compound, and that's what he's breaking out right there. You can get it online, just look around, it's kind of a grease and tire lube compound, but and then he actually just puts that paste in this bottle and then mixes some water with it. It kind of makes it a nice soapy solution, so to speak, but right now he's just gonna spray it on. You kind of have to spray it on here because we want it to kind of go down in between the lip of the wheel there next to the bead. Later, when we put a new tire on a wheel, we can actually get our fingers in there and actually put the paste itself, but we just want it to seep down in there. All right, and on this little setup is the tire bead breaker, actually is what we'll call it, and it just swivels over like so. And again, the wheel doesn't need to be clamped down for this or anything, and they're just gonna put some pressure, and he's just breaking the bead. You can hear it there. Brian's moving it around, helps to have a couple extra hands here. Again, break it there. And it looks like it's broke all the way around. He's gonna spin it over. And he's gonna lube this side too. It does help to break that bead by getting some lube up in there. All right, and they're back on it there. Again, just multiple points. Make sure it's broke all the way around. Looks like it's good to go. All right, and what they're working on now, this is a tube tire because it's spoked. Your spoked wheels are tubes. And we want to undo the valve stem just so when we pull this whole assembly off, the tube kind of is free to go with the tire. If you're not tubed, you really don't need to worry about this. Okay, so you can see it has 3 clamps there on this. The back one isn't really adjustable. You see these adjusters right there? That's how we're going to adjust and clamp the wheel in. He's starting the back one. That's where you want to start. And he's putting those little clamps up over the lip, pushing the tire up. All right, so you can see now they're working on this. And these have different places. There's multiple holes you can see underneath there. You might have to move this whole clamp system forward or back, but you'll get good at where it is. Once you get it close, then you can use these adjusters, and as you can see, Brian actually has a tool over here and just a socket on it. And he can start working those up into the tire. Again, the little rollers go above the lip Okay, so what Brian has here is the actual bead breaker bar, we'll call it, and it comes with the kit. He's just working it in, you can see there, to the tire. He'll pry it over and hand it to Rick there. This is kind of a two-man operation. Now he'll bring the tire axle clamp down. This just folds down like so, and of course that's going to go right in down into the axle. You're going to see him bump this up just a little bit. That's kind of just to jam everything in there, and then it tightens the nut down, and now they're set up. And you can see Rick's going to work around, and he's using that center bar as leverage for his bead breaker bar there. And he's just sliding it right around. He can hand it off to Brian to help. There you go. All right, and they're just backing and everything off now. Backing the axle clamp down there. This little setup's nice, pops right out of your way. You can see Brian, now he can kind of push that valve stem. He's getting prepared, getting that valve stem so the tube will come out with the tire. Now he's going to work it through. He's going all the way down and to the underside and making sure it pops through there is what he's doing right there. And you can see, same thing. He's underneath the underside. And Rick's pulling up there, same exact process, bring it down right into the axle. He'll bump up a little bit to jam everything, tighten that nut down. And you can see Brian has another pry bar there. That can be helpful. He's kind of going to hold it at that position while Rick works the rest of the way so they don't slip or lose any ground. And they're just switching there. Again, Rick's going to hold that now and Brian's going to work. He kind of handed it off. There you go. Okay, so in this project we are reusing the tire, but we're using a new Harley-Davidson wheel that we're going to put it on, and he's just working it in there. It's a lot easier because the tire is not on it, of course. And again, Rick's just got the tool here, and he's just adjusting these clamps here in. Of course, the back one again is the one you start with because it's non-adjustable, and both sides here, this one was already adjusted. He just pushed it right into it, so that's nice and secure now. Okay, so we've got our tire, we're putting back on our wheel. A couple things to note. The heaviest part of the wheel is always the valve stem side. That's because the valve stem's there and they have to beef it up and support it and all that. So that's going to be your heavy point of the wheel. If you look on the other side, you'll want to note on this one there's a Harley-Davidson logo. That's direct opposite the valve stem. You also have the heaviest part of your tire. You want to look for a barcode and or there'll be a nipple or a mark. And you also want to make darn sure that it is a directional tire and it goes one way. So the way we're doing this is the valve stem's always on the right, okay? So that's going to be the right side. So this wheel is going to spin this way, which means we want to make sure this tire we put on, so it's spinning this way. And on this tire, there's only one mark and it's on the underside because that's the way we're going to have to place it. So he's going to lay it down right now, Brian's going to. And again, we know by that arrow that this tire and the valve stems on the right is going to turn this way. So just make sure you have all that set up. Your barcode is directly opposite your valve stem and all that. Real quick, guys, if you appreciate all these free videos and what we're trying to do to help the law-abiding biker community, there is a way you could support us. You can become a patron member, lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon. There'll be a link in the description below. You can pledge a certain amount per piece of content that we put out. No risk, because you can put a monthly cap. There are benefits of becoming a member. There's a private Facebook group that's blowing up. There's also a access to premium videos and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, all the information is over. Hit the link, check it out. All right, let's get back into your video. All right, and so now that we have the tire, of course, we don't have to use the spray because we can actually get right on the bead, and that's what he's doing with his lube, tire grease, compound, whatever you want to call it. There's all different types, and he's just lubing up both sides of the tire. We're going to lube all the way around. If you love it, lube it. While he's greasing that up, we also want to show you, and each tire is a little bit different, but these Michelins or Dunlops and stuff like that. Look up here too. You can see there's the directional arrows actually up. Sporadic here. There's another one that show you the direction the tire is supposed to go. So a nice little trick. The barcode is only on the other side, and that's directly opposite the valve stem. So he actually knows, Brian, where it is. He's making a mark. So because we have the wheel up this way and we can't see the barcode, that we put that mark now directly opposite the valve stem. All right, depending on the tire, you a lot of times can get it started at least, just like they did by pushing down. And you don't even need to use the tool sometimes to at least get it started. All right, one of the tricks that you'll want to know about to get this tire on, now that they've at least got it started, we're going to have to use the tools to get it the rest of the way on, is that one guy is kind of going to hold this side of the tire, but one crucial thing is you see the lip under there? You want to actually push this tire up under the lip there, and that's going to give you enough, if it's above here or up here on the ledge, it's not going to give you enough play on that side to get the tool and get that over. So make sure whoever's on this side, you'll see they're pushing it up underneath the lip there. Okay, so you see the tool Brian's holding, that's the, we're gonna put the tire back on with this. It's got the doubles there. That's what you'll wanna use for putting it back in. And he's gonna insert it. Rick's gonna push that tire up. And Rick's got another tool. He's kind of gonna hold that position at this point with that other pry tool. And now they'll bring their tire axle clamp down. Move it into position. You'll see them bump up a little bit there to jam everything in place, tighten the nut down. All right, now they're in a position. And again, make sure, Rick's gonna make sure he pushes that tire up underneath that lip to give Brian enough room on this side to work that around. And again, he's using that center bar as leverage as he works this tire back around. All right, and Russ is just adding a little extra lube. We got part of it on, and it is a manual process. And now they'll reinsert their tools there. Brian's working it back in there. Rick's gonna hold where they have it to the point where they're in, and then Brian's gonna work it around again. All right, so they're working together. They just worked it and worked it around there. It took a little muscle, but got it on there. All right, so now we're gonna start filling it up. Make sure you have lots of pressure so you can fill it up quick. And if you need to, you can push up and down on the tire to get it to seal, but if you have enough pressure, it should seat. There's one pop, one side. And there's the second side. So they're both, you hear those two pops, that means both sides of the bead's seated. And now you can top your tire off to the appropriate pressure. Okay, this is a Nomar balancer, and this comes with your kit if you get the whole tire change kit. Brian's gonna take it off there and we'll start showing it to you. All right, and it's got two cones. One is set. That one is set with a set screw. You kind of get it all set up. All right, and then of course it just slides through. We got the new bearings in there on this wheel. He's going to put the cone on the other side. Kind of try to get this even on each side. You don't need to ram those up. You just want to make sure the cones are kind of setting right, resting on the bearing races, so to speak, but you don't need a ton of pressure. And you can see, you can just work it so that it's kind of even on both sides, and it just sits right up in these little wheels there. All right, and again, you don't have to jam the cones in there a bunch, but you just want them to rest on the bearing race, and then it's got a little set screw. That way we make sure it maintains there. So the first thing to a proper wheel balance is a good high quality tire and a good high quality wheel. Don't buy cheap stuff. There's a lot of cheap stuff. It'll make it very difficult to balance. So you see the valve stem at the very top, that's the heaviest part of the wheel. You don't want to start right at the top. Brian's going to move it forward to kind of a forward position. He's going to stop the motion of the tire and then he's just going to let go. And we're looking for it dropping. You can see it slowly moving. That is the heaviest part of the wheel. If it moves very, very slow like this, it means you're going to need less weights. If it's very, very fast and abrupt, that just means you're probably going to need some more weights to counterbalance that motion. And we'll just let it go back and forth like this, and we're not touching it at all, and it will eventually settle. Okay, so our wheel has settled, and you can see the valve stem is kind of at the bottom. It's not at the very, very bottom, because this is actually the very bottom of the wheel, so it's just a little bit off. So we're going to move right up the wheel from the very center of the bottom of the wheel here, and we're going to go to the opposite side of the wheel. And if you move up, this is where on the opposite side we'll move around, and that's where we're going to put the weights. We're going to go directly up from that, and we want the weights on the opposite side of the wheel. And the reason we're going on the opposite side is we're just trying to counterbalance the valve stem sticking out on this side of the wheel. All right, so you can get these online very cheap. They're just motorcycle wheel weights. Look them up. You can get them all over. There's quarter ounce, half ounce. There's different colors. There's black, there's silver, there's red. Just get yourself a good assortment of those, and they're just sticky sided basically, so they stick on the wheel. Additionally, there's strip weights like this if you need multiple weights together, but again, there's assortments online. All right, and so before you actually take the sticky backing off, just use some masking tape like Brian has there, because we want to test it first before we permanently mount it. So again, the valve stem is over there a little bit, but we're not going. We're going to the lowest part of the wheel, and he's going straight up from where the wheel settled on the bottom at the lowest part there, and he's sticking it on the opposite side of the wheel, and we're going to test. All right, so now we started with a quarter ounce weight, again, opposite the lowest part of the wheel there where it settled. Brian's just going to turn it up, get it off a little bit, and again, stopping the motion, and he's just going to let go. And we're going to let this settle and figure out where we're at. All right, as you can see, it settled basically, maybe changed a little bit in the same place. So we started with the lowest weight. And even if you were at this point, this wheel really is very well balanced and you'd probably be fine. We're going to be meticulous about it. And he's going to move up to a half ounce weight. And again, opposite the lowest part of the wheel, the very bottom center, he's going to go opposite that. and he's got his masking tape opposite side of the wheel, and he's putting, again, a 1/2 ounce weight. He started with a 1/4. Always start low and you can move up, and then we're going to test this wheel and see where we're at. Okay, so Brian's moving it again, of course, and taking all off of it there, his hand, and we'll see where this thing settles. All right, so we're going to add, it kind of settled in close to the same place. We made a little progress. We're going to put another, there's a 1/2 ounce weight on the opposite side of the wheel. Now we have a 1/4 ounce weight, and you can see Brian here. We're going to put it back on this side of the wheel, so we kind of have weights on both sides, and we'll just kind of go back and forth like that. He's just going to put some extra tape on there, and same process. He's going to offset it there and let go, and we'll see where we're at. That definitely made a very much slower start as it goes down here. Okay, so that's where we settled. It's not bad. It's about as good as you're going to get it, and this tire is very well balanced. This wheel, so we got the two weights, a 1/2 ounce and a 1/4 ounce weight. You may not get it perfect, and also you may be asking why not use balancing beads. We personally have guys here at Lab Media and Big Daddy Kane and that do not recommend them. We've seen some bad things with them and grooving the inside of tires and stuff, so we recommend just doing it the old-fashioned way. All right, so we marked right where the weights were. Of course, they were just taped up in there. He's cleaning it with rubbing alcohol. You want to make sure that those sticky weights really stick on there good. The other thing we might not mention about balancing beads that we don't like so much is that with the weather and moisture in them, when you air your tire up and get moisture in there, it can actually freeze them up. So depending on your climate, we just feel it's better just to use these type of weights for balancing. All right, so what Brian's got here is the 2 1/4 ounce weights, which makes a 1/2, and he's using a little strip there because you can see how it bends in the middle. That'll help go along with the curvature of this wheel. Again, we've already marked, we already tested where these go, and the wheel's clean, nice and clean with rubbing alcohol. There we go, and then we're gonna have to put one more 1/4 ounce weight on here. All right, and so this is just the other 1/4 ounce weight. Brian spun this whole wheel around because we want to go back and forth on each side of the wheel with, so this is the valve stem side now. And again, we had marked exactly where that goes, and he's just sticking it into place. So real quick, this is just the rear wheel now. We're balancing it. I just wanted to show you. This one's a little bit opposite, and the valve stem's kind of going to end up at the top. And I just want to hit the point home that it's not really about where it ends up. It's about adding weight. And when you add weight and you let the tire go, you want very little movement. So it's not necessarily exactly where things end up. It's about when you let it go, you want as little movement on that wheel as you can. So he's going to let it go again here. And you can see it is moving. We could decide if we want to add a weight or not on this. So we know the wheel settled here on the rear, and it turned pretty slow. We're going to try adding a weight, and again, we're adding it up top here. The reason is the heaviest part of the wheel is where it settled down there. So we want to put the weight the opposite of the heavy part of the wheel, even though it's up by the valve stem. So don't really use the valve stem other than kind of knowing what position the wheel is in. So Brian spun it to about the halfway, the valve stem there, and we're going to let it go, and we're going to see where it ends up here.
Barely moved.
So that was a 1/4 ounce weight, and you can see that moved barely at all, and the valve stem isn't even over here more instead of over where it was, so that's probably enough weight. And you can also gauge it from the other side. He put the valve stem down there, and he's going to let go, and we'll see if it kind of ends up in the same spot. You can see how slow that's turning. That's a really good indication that it's balanced. There we go, and it ended up right over there. So they're comfortable with that, and with that very little movement that you saw, that's as balanced as you're going to get it there pretty much. And now they'll stick this weight on permanently. I hope that video was useful. If so, let's take our relationship to the next level. Subscribe to this channel right now so you're notified when we come out with new free videos, because we have a ton in the works for you guys. Thumbs up, like it, share it with all your biker friends. I hope you're well. I definitely hope you are out there getting some riding in. Join the biker revolution.